Welcome to Faceoff. Thank you very much. I don't remember your name, but the gentleman that asks Edgar to clearly respond to, he says that Honorable William Nzogu in Parliament, on the floor of Parliament, said that the state is arming Basongora. Actually, he says the police is arming Basongora. And secondly, wants us to clarify, is it the state under attack, or is it a tribal conflict that we have dealt with bad? He's very clear on that. Edgar, respond to the issue of
whether they are arming the Basongora. Now, let me give you just a quick history, quick background to the Basongora pastoralists. They've faced historical injustices since 1925, when Lake George National Park,
Queen Elizabeth.
It later became to be called Queen Elizabeth, but it was Lake George, then Kazinga Channel National Park, was gazetted as a wildlife sanctuary. And it resulted in dispossession of the pastoralist community, who are now, we call the Basongora, of their ancestral and communal land. And when we talk about communal ownership of land, these are things you understand. And there are problems in Acholi, I guess even Karamoja, sub-region, similar problems. Now, in 1933, there was a mass vaccination campaign, a campaign for vaccination against some cattle disease, I can't remember. And as a result, large stocks of the Basongora animals were depleted. I'm told it was intended by the colonial government. Then the colonial government, and together later on the independent government, did go ahead to gazette further land for institutional development. Mubuk irrigation scheme, the Ruimi stock farm, you have the UPDF, I think, production unit there. And as a result, Basongora lost 98% of their land. They were dispossessed of their land, and they do not have grazing rights over them, and they continue to have clashes. Then on the other side, there are population pressures coming from the Bakonjo. And as a result, they've come from the highlands and come to the lowlands to come and encroach on what? And now there's an aspect of ownership, conflict of, some of it has gone to court. I mean, court on Wednesday will be in the Court of Appeal over some matter concerning a matter where even Dr. Chionga appeared for and on behalf of the Bakonjo cultivators in the High Court, and judgment was passed against Basongola.
I know.
But the Basongola were excluded from the proceedings.
By the way,
against the government, and Basongola were excluded. So, and because Basongola were in possession of the land, we brought what they call objector proceedings, and we are now in the Court of Appeal. But the Court of Appeal has advised us to go for mediation. And I'm coming to this very thing. Last week, we were in Basongola on the 1st of July. And I can assure you, Mr. Pulkol, we got this information that there were attacks being arranged. That information we passed on to the state agencies. I'll not mention who. We did.
So the president is telling lies.
No.
There was no information.
But you see, where does this information come from? Who are the security personnel on the ground?
The Gisos.
Who are the Gisos? They also belong to certain ethnic groupings, not so.
I don't think you pass it to the Giso. You yourself.
I'm going even to the parish intelligence officers. So now it's probable that the security personnel on the ground were probable recruits or conscripts in the same agenda. Then we also, I'm coming there because the issue has to do with land. It is really to do with land and dispossession of the Basongola. Now, when clashes started, and this is not the first time, many more Basongola have died. We are going to go to court. We are going to petition the Constitutional Court. And the ugly truth is going to come out. And you'll even see names that have not been mentioned before coming up. The district leadership has been engaged in acts of genocide. Genocide against the Basongora. They're a minority group, about 8,000, by the way. 8,000 residing in that area. And the majority of Basongora, by the way, no longer even describe themselves as Basongora. We have a retired judge, for instance, who is a Basongora. But many people know him as a Mnyakore. That is Kazini. Kazini did hide his whatever, his identity. Okay, we have people in Bunyoro.
Let me pause you. Gentlemen, two things here. David, I'll start with you and then come back to Charles. One, the information that I receive is there was no shortage of intelligence. That there were possible attacks that were being arranged. That indeed the information was collected and sent forth. It is the processing of information and taking of action that failed, not the collecting of information and data. David, you've been at an intelligence desk. When do you assess information and say it is worthy of credit? And then address the issue of, is it the state under attack, or is it a tribal group that is hitting at each other?
Wow.
Very briefly.
I come from Karamoja and understand what the Basongora could be going through, what Edgar has explained. I come from Matheniko. Our whole sub-county of Lotizan in Rupar sub-county now was dislodged by the Turkanas in 1968. And since then, UA has taken it over. Our people have been agitating even up to tomorrow to go back to their sub-county. We have been denied. They have refused. And we are saying, is it who's mother who was buried there? Is it their wells? Is it their pasture? Is it their what? Their grandmother? Who is this Uganda Wildlife Authority? Who are they? So I could understand the emotion accompanying this, the historical injustices, whether the Bamba have suffered, the Bakonjo have suffered in the hands, the Batoro have suffered, all these Basongoras have suffered, everybody. So our government is not being clever in handling this matter. There are issues which have been not resolved over years.
Yeah,
and now, then you go carelessly, recklessly, to handle this thing like this and tribalize it. You go, instead of, if you are bringing a new kingdom, a new king, installing a king, promoting a major into a lieutenant colonel, installing him to be the new king of the Bamba. There are clan leaders there. Is it the most seniorest? I don't know. Now, again, you go to Kayunga, a captain, promoting to a major. You are now for the Banyala. You go to Kochi, you go to Buruli. So what does UPDF want in our cultural institutions? This question must be answered, because these are veterans. You go to Lira, the Lango. There's a lieutenant colonel there now saying he's one of the clan leaders. You know what has been going on in Lango. So are we going to see the military in our cabinet, in our parliament, in our culture, in our NADS, in our what? So that's a debate citizens must open up their eyes and really call the president to order. If you have a popo, you've eaten part of it, you leave the rest here on the table and it goes to rot. If you put in the fridge, there are different consequences. If you leave it here and it rots, you don't come back and say, what's wrong with this popo? It's what you did with the popo which is wrong. So what is our president, what's our government, what's our army doing our cultural institutions? It's cultural institutions under attack. Now, before you do this, let me come down. Let me come back. Let me come back.
The fact that I'm serving in the
UPDF.
army.
No problem.
Frederick Edward Mutesa.
The trend
was the captain.
No problem.
The King African Rifles.
Yes.
Let's come back
And
to this.
he was
Let's come back to this.
cultural leader.
The president, and therefore the NRM government, before you install anybody, I wish they could bring the clan leaders of the Bamba and discuss, first of all, with the leaders of the Bakonjo or the Basongora and so forth, so that there's a pact, a settlement pact signed. Listen,
ethnic dialogue.
Ethnic dialogue needs to be taken.
You're now talking about
ethnic dialogue. Yes, that's what I'm saying, that our government made errors in terms of action. Its action fell short. Listen, you come back.
David.
And now, when you discuss this, people have intermarried. The president is saying in his statement here that he told the king Mumbere that the Bakonjo who are in Bundibugyo should come to Kasese. Excuse me, which constitution? 1995 constitution, where citizens have a right to move anywhere in Uganda and settle anywhere in Uganda, and you can buy land and settle anywhere, that for you to practice your culture, you need to be in Kasese only. Excuse me. Is this the president of Uganda talking?
No, but there's a background to that. There's a background to that. And the council he was offering was a practical approach.
What I'm saying is that our government has missed an opportunity to reconcile the tribes.
Let me ask you, so are we dealing with a land problem, which is a resource distribution problem?
Excellent.
Or are we dealing with a cultural disorientation?
We are dealing with both. We are also dealing with historical injustices.
Historical. That's what we should first start by addressing.
So this conflict has brought many things on the surface which have not been handled. Before you blame a Giso, okay? A Giso does not solve these problems. So mine is to say there is CMI. There's IOs in every army unit. There is criminal intelligence in every police station. Okay? There is ISO, GISO, PISO, ISO, even soon a household internal security officer will be there. So the way we are going. So you're having all this. Now, but, and then you say, you tribalize, you blame only one tribe. For me, what has happened is that I think when I look at the targets, when I look at the level of coordination, when I look at the sophistication of what has been involved, this multinational action, I don't want to accept that it is simply just a tribal thing. Because our government has not explained two things. In February, refugees came to Uganda. They said ADF attacked them. 70,000 over in 2 days. The impact must have been too much that are captured Kamango. Then again, April, May, they say DRC army attacked ADF. And then they took Wamala, Katumba Wamala, they took Elwelu, Brigadier, they took them, and we saw the underground tunnels and so on. But they don't show us the people who have been occupying here. Now, that place, as our government erased now, have they put an electric fence that those people, that force that has been responsible for all this,
no,
which is not accounted for.
The ADF was decimated.
Now, this is the problem. So why are our government quick to dismiss and tribalize these things?
Charles, you've listened to David, you've listened to Edgar.
I hope they listen. the problem, if you have to go backwards, it begins with the restitution of traditional institutions. I was, I think, on stage 2, stage 3. I was involved in the second stage. First, it began with High Command. Yes, it began with High Command when they returned. That return of the VFA and the restitution of institutions. And then it came to our Constituent Assembly where I was a member. And we recognized the traditional institutions, read kingdoms that were. We even went further to assign districts to them. Tag districts to them.
Of?
Yeah, that is what they said.
Tribal districts.
Of Uganda, of Ankole. Actually, Ankole hadn't given them. The president invited us, senior delegates from the West. We met in Washington and he said, please, please, you may not have the kingdom of Ankole, but let me have my because it's about my culture. Those are the words he used. You have cut my intestines if you don't. To cut the story short, we also tagged the districts of Ankole to Ankole kingdom that never was to be.
They are dimmed.
Now,
which Edgar says they should be.
Now, so we made
If
the
they
kings.
so want,
We made the kings. We made the kings that weren't, and we gave them a territory. But for kings that became politically problematic, the tool to punish them was to dismember their territories. And it began with Buganda. So initially, Buganda had the Kayungas of this world, had the this area Bururi, but later on those were to be cut off as a tool, as a stick to punish.
Well, constitutionally they have it, by the way.
Come again? No, yeah, but you see the Kabaka.
Because in the constitution you said of Buganda.
Yes,
and,
but you see administratively and by a resolution of the Security Council, the National Security Council, the Kabaka was stopped from going to Kayunga, and you had Natete police station burnt to the ground. Was there any Kabaka's minister arrested? Why didn't you arrest him? You didn't move on the kingdom. You had earlier on moved on the kingdom on a different matter, when the Nambos and the others. But when it came to Kayunga, they only moved on the peasants, they didn't move on the Karicho leaders. But in this case, the first targets have been the Karicho leaders, because some people who were waiting waited their names. Now,
no, there were letters they had authored. There were radio programs. There were radio programs.
Well, it's your word. Bring those and replay.
Yeah, but you'll see these things in court when we file next week.
That's good.
Yes,
You'll see them, and some ugly truth will come out,
good.
really. Yeah. Unfortunately, it will be a court forum, so.
Carry on.
The Basongora have lived peacefully with the Bakonjo.
Really?
Yes.
That Edgar
Peacefully?
contests. He says the peaceful living
I've
is...
told you, I grew up in Rwenju.
Calmly.
I grew up in Rwenju, sub-county, Katwe. I know that place.
Did you want to be mine the first for you to know that there's instability in that place?
To show that I know that place, I have even hunted grasshoppers up to Rubanyamugashali. So I know that place in and out.
But that was even before you joined university. That's even before you joined university.
I've also told you that my father married Msongora. They were Konjo, supply Basongora food, they were supply them meat and milk. They have lived together. But the problem comes in recent, and I think by the hand of the political powers that be. It starts becoming serious when you want to give them their own kingdom. And the reason, and this is what I would want us to interrogate. NRA went to Rwenzori. When it went to Rwenzori, it used the Batora as a base. The base. The NRA. ADF and the other forces, of course, was an allied force, went to the same Rwenzori to fight NRA or the current government, and it was using the Bakonjo as a base. Now, therefore, you get two minorities that are in the Rwenzori area, incite them against the Bakonjo. And this is what is going on. You are inciting the Bamba, you are inciting the Basongora against the Bakonjo, because you are going to have this as a base area. You are going to have this ground as contested.
Mr. Kibazo.
Yes, very briefly,
Mr.
Mr. Kibazo, and I will need everyone to make.
Mr. Kibazo,
this is
really, that's an academic argument he's making. It has no practical.
I'm not the moderator, and I have listened.
Well, he has a right to interject.
Really, because he's giving falsehoods.
You'll respond.
Let me tell you, the biggest challenge we have in this community is that previously, and even commissions of inquiry that were conducted, 1963, chaired by Honorable Sembeguya, 50, you know, Frank Gasasira, the uncle, late Frank Gasasira, was PS local government. Uncle Tukayura had investigated this matter in 1963. And his nephew is now handling the same issue. But that's the side.
Let's degassed some part of the national park and give the Basongo.
Those are the remedies we are going for. But
our government is not doing it.
Very quickly, Peter, very quickly. The biggest challenge concerning the Basongola relations arises when we go for decentralization. Because previously, resources were being distributed from the central government, directly from Kampala. Now, when we decentralize,
and resources are distributed at the district.
At the district level. Now, the district leadership is composed overwhelmingly by the majority ethnic grouping. And the Basongola, who are a minority, are terribly beaten. They apply for jobs.
So wait, Edgar. So therefore, should we create districts for minorities?
Actually, no. If we are going to go for solutions,
that's why there should be
we are going to have to amend the constitution and go for constitutional reform. One will have to have ethnic dialogue. And there are some elders.
Charles, I'm giving you a minute and a half, David a minute and a half, and Edgar a minute and a half.
Much
and
obliged.
we'll check out of here. I'll look at my watch.
The fundamental question I posed was that initially, the Bakonjo were UPM. They voted Chionga.
By default.
Consistently.
By default. It's because the DP candidate died in the election or was killed.
Yes. Consistently, they have remained anti-NRM. And the gap is widening. Even when they have Chionga permanently there as minister, we need to interrogate that. And therefore, the response against their resilience against the opposition is leading to this, and has therefore culminated into this. This is the question we need to interrogate. And I think this is what the third force is taking advantage of. And because you are not reacting...
Whoever that third force is.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a problem with the country over. There are attacks everywhere. Why aren't the attacks taking place? The question is the level of the magnitude. Finally. And I would love Edgar Tabaro and his to contradict me that the Musongora has not lived peacefully with the Mkonjo. Give me cases where they have got them with the pangas.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Charles. Edgar, very briefly, as we check out, where is the solution?
The solution is multifaceted. There's the legal solution. We'll go to court, obtain orders that these are marginalized minority community, and therefore we need affirmative action. Two, there's got to be inter-ethnic dialogue. And no, there are many sober people in that area. Muzei Constantine Bwambale, former Prime Minister of Businga, is a sober man, and he's respected by all groups.
So,
inter-ethnic dialogue.
Court.
Third, there's a third solution. We'll have to go for constitutional reform and introduce a third tier in our local government administration. Central government.
Finally, David, I'm switched off.
There are some functions that will have to go to regional level.
David, is this beyond Busongora, Bamba, Bakonzo community? Does this reflect Uganda?
I'm saying President Museveni should not reason like any other villager. He's a graduate of Dar es Salaam University. So we expect him to see beyond.
He isn't reasoning
Listen,
like
Chief,
villager.
because when you say this is tribal,
very briefly,
the second thing is, meaning he must now solve the land question. in Lake Mburo National
But you
Park.
have land problems
Listen,
across
Chief,
the whole of
we
Uganda.
degazetted 150 square miles from Lake Mburo National Park, and we left animals within 100, and we settled Kanyireru and so forth, where our brothers
Well,
now are doing.
Why
can't you do the
why
same?
don't you mention the
Listen,
brothers?
yeah, I mean, these are friends from Nyabshosi. so why can't we do the same for the Basongora and these minorities
Much
to
obliged.
resolve these land issues? Secondly,
I would agree with that.
This inter-ethnic thing, people have intermarried, and they're going to intermarry. People have joined economic projects. Bamba, what these communities. So let's do. Where's a pact? These societies have signed.
David. Thank you,
So
Charles,
our
and
government
thank you,
is not
Edgar.
doing the right thing, and the army
No, you
should
can't
keep
do
away.
that,
The army
because,
and the
my
police
bumper
should
is
keep
already
away
going.
from politics, and the
Thank
president
you very
should stop
much,
using
gentlemen.
intelligence for Chankwan's resolution.
Thank you very
Chankwan's
much,
resolution
gentlemen.
is not a blessing; it's a disaster.
We have to go.
Yeah.
Catch you on Tuesday. I know there are so many questions that are still being interrogated. One of those is actually a picture across Uganda.
Yeah.
How do you settle land problems in this country like the constitution dictated and we have refused to obey? Good night.